Since the dawn of time, stories have been used to teach us lessons in ways we understand, from religious texts to historical battles. And stories are even more useful to get people to buy your product or service in any given field. Stories have been used by countless of brands such as Apple, Nike, your local toaster, even your George Foreman grill. And the reason is people buy based on feelings, and stories create that feelings like no other. But the question is, how do you use stories to get people to buy your product or service and convey it in a way that people buy what you are selling? And I'm going to show you exactly how in 4 simple ways. Now, you're probably thinking, who is this motherfucker on my screen? My name is Zane and I'm a copywriter, and I help creators and coaches build out the personal brands and monetize the audiences through funnels. And for you guys, you can sign up to my email newsletter, which is the link in the description. Free, talk about copywriting, personal branding, marketing, and all that shenanigans just for you. Okay, let's jump in. Now, like I said, there are 4 ways to storytell to get people to buy your product or service, whether it be in person, selling, or selling through your landing pages. And I know I've said this a billion times, sales and dating are related, so you can also use this in dating. Right, so here it is. Number 1, your story. When you sell a product or service, either through person or through a landing page or a sales page, a great way to convey your product or service and get people to buy your stuff is through your story. That basically means you explain how you went through a problem, overcame that problem with the solution that you found. And this can be anything based on your life, your business, your goals, your personal circumstances, as long as it's related to you and your story. Now, this is great because number 1, it makes it relatable for the audience to relate to your problem. And number 2, it puts you in a position of authority. You've been through the problem that your audience currently has, and now you're teaching them how to overcome that solution with your product or service, which technically worked, right? You've proven to your audience that it works since you've been through it yourself. It's sort of like having a mentor who's been through your problems and he's kind of teaching you the solutions and just skipping over those mistakes that you're going to make. It's just like a fast track to success. The second way you can convey storytelling in your sales pages or in person is through case studies. Now, testimonials are king, okay? Testimonials are king. So what you want to do is tell a story of someone else that you've helped, a case study. Now, you can say this through a VSL and explain it more depth, or you can do it in the body copy of your sales page, all right? Simply put it, how did you help someone go through a problem, overcome that problem with your solution, with your product or service? And the reason this is so effective is because we humans have a herd mentality, right? In order for us to try something, that thing needs to be validated by someone else, right? It's like when you buy on Amazon, before you buy a product, you go through the review section and see people's testimonials, see if it's got 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, and you can compare it basically. You need to see that the product is validated. It's the same way for your product or service. It needs to be validated. Otherwise, people will be very skeptical if your product or service can actually help them. So get someone or your previous client, get a testimonial. It makes your product or service more validated. And if you convey it through a story and you say, this person went through a problem, overcame that problem with my solution, here are the results. And here is his dream outcome. This is where he is now. If you can do that through either copy or a VSL, then you've conveyed a story and it will hit much harder to your audience. Number 3, future pacing. All right, before we start, what is future pacing? Okay, this has been used in, I've worked in sales for 3 years, okay? I've used this countless of times, it works. But essentially what future pacing is that you're explaining the dream outcome of your product or service. Once your product or service solves the problem that your audience currently has, what will their life look like, right? So I'll give you an example. If you have like a dating program, you got this fucking geek or nerd who just doesn't know how to fucking talk to girls, right? And you have a course, a dating course or whatever, and you give it to him. You then explain what his life will be like once he goes through the course and uses the knowledge in that course. So now you'll be like, from this course, you're gonna have countless of dates. Girls are going to want to talk to you. You're gonna have so many options that you don't know what to do. You're gonna have trouble finding loyalty because there's so many girls that want you. You know, just explain the dream outcome for that client. So simply put it, explain the dream outcome of your product or service once they reach their goals or overcome their problem. It's so powerful, it's so effective. And the reason is because it gets the reader thinking of the best possible outcome. And now they're stuck in that dream state and it feels like they're currently there already. So it's kind of a psychological tactic using future pacing. And the fourth storytelling technique you can use is what I like to call the 3 M's. Myths, misconceptions, or mistakes. Those are the 3 M's. So I'm going to break those 3 M's for you. All right, so if you're on a sales call or you're on a sales page and all that stuff, the first one you can use is myth, right? So essentially what you need to do is debunk a myth that is commonly believed in by the majority of the population. So debunk anything that isn't true. Now, when you debunk a myth, there's so many possibilities you can do this. You can write blog posts, YouTube videos, shorts. There's so many content you can make from just debunking a myth. The second one you can use is misconceptions. Essentially put it, it's similar to a myth, but the difference is that misconceptions are believing something that is not true. Now, misconceptions is similar to myths, except that misconceptions is believing something that is incorrect, like as a fact. And at this point, when you clear up any mistakes or any misconceptions and you provide proof, that puts you in a position of authority and they're more likely to trust you. And lastly, what was the last one? Mistakes. Now, as humans, we hate to make mistakes, okay? We want things to be perfect. We hate making mistakes. It hurts our ego a bit. And so if you're able to provide a solution or you're able to raise awareness of a certain mistake, it makes you seem like an authority figure. It makes you seem like a boss, a mentor, like a G. People will put you on a pedestal. And the reason this one is so important because people are always seeking to improve. They always want to get better. And so if you're able to help them get better by overcoming their mistakes, they will buy your product or service. So now, with these 3 M's or with any of the techniques I mentioned above, you can create countless of stories all day long in your sales pages and in your sales calls. And when you convey that story and you convey it very well, it feels like the prospect is getting the information for free. And the reason is stories are a great way of teaching people about anything. Stories have been used for years and years and decades and centuries to tell stories and to teach people in a way that they all understand. Stories create the illusion that the prospect is being helped, and that increases the drive for them to buy your product or service. So, wherever it is, sales pages, sales calls, use stories, people understand it way better. It's way more persuasive. It hits them harder, makes them more emotional, and this will drive that thirst to buy your product or service. Does that make sense? Capiche? Okay, good.